And for a closer look at how the interest rate hike will further impact the housing market, we're joined live now by Phil Soper, President and CEO of Royal LePage. Phil, thanks for joining us this afternoon. How do you see this latest rate impacting the housing market? I know that Royal LePage is forecasting that home prices will drop by 3.5%, but the price growth for certain properties is still pretty high, isn't it?
Not very many.
Oh,
Certainly not in Ontario. The prices are dropping, or they have been dropping throughout the year. This rate was highly expected, and it wasn't 0.75. So in a way, it will meet expectations or produce something of a sigh of relief that it wasn't greater. I think it's also important to realize that the housing industry is clearly not contributing to inflation as it has in previous years, and it could be one of the sectors that bounces back the quickest once the news of a flattening in interest rates becomes more widely known.
Whenever that is, of course, that's the big question, isn't it, Phil? Because, of course, Tiff Macklem was hinting today, it looks like we're in for another hike, maybe another 6 weeks or so. So in your industry, when you're in an environment like this, I mean, this is the 6th straight hike this year by the central bank on the overnight interest rate. I mean, you've been doing this for a while, Phil. Can you remember a period like this or a comparable period where rates have gone from, from such a low, or even if they went from 6 to 12, we're going from a quarter to now 3.75?
Well, it's interesting. No is the short answer. The longer answer is there's two factors at play. Houses are getting less expensive and money's getting more expensive. On balance, for some property types, and we've gone through that as recently as last week, it's still equivalent in terms of acquiring a property for people. For example, in entry-level housing in the city of Toronto, the lower price and the higher interest rates have basically sawed off, and it hasn't pushed the affordability of homes up for first-time buyers.
Phil, I want to go back to what you said about how, for the first time, really, the housing market, the industry isn't really contributing that much to the rate of inflation. But the Bank of Canada says that we expect to be in the beginnings of a recession by the beginning of 2023. How do you see that situation impacting the housing market?
The recession word is getting less and less relevant. People are working. Employment is very high. Housing is already contracting. So, a talk of recession in our biggest industry, Canada's biggest industry, the real estate industry, is a little bit moot. It's been ongoing for months. So, yes, technically, when GDP declines 2 quarters in a row, we're in a recession. It's meaningless for most Canadians.
So let's talk buyers and sellers now, Phil, because a lot of people watching may be either considering buying a home or maybe listing their home right now. Are there opportunities or strategies that you can employ at a point like this when the market is in this period of kind of rearranging itself?
Sure. 70% of Canadians own their homes. If you own your home and you need a different home, it means nothing that prices have shifted or anything, because if the home you're selling is worth less than it was 6 months ago, the home you're buying is also worth an equivalent amount less. So if you're buying and selling in the same market, it's meaningless. Right. If you're a first-time home buyer, you have to trade off that we know the cost of money is rising. The governor said so early in their earlier clip. We don't know what prices are going to do. They have been flattening. So most of the price decrease occurred in the second quarter. There was less in the third. We expect less in the fourth. So they're flattening. And so for a first-time home buyer, really, you're trading off the increased cost of money in the future against the potential that prices could soften further. And a lot of first-time buyers are using the fall market as an opportunity to get in and lock down, because they're betting on one uncertainty versus one certainty.
Right. So much to consider. Okay, Phil Soper, thanks for helping us kind of sort through this, and I'm sure we'll be in touch again soon. Phil Soper is the president of Royal LePage. Appreciate this.
Pleasure.
Thank you.